Okay, you got a ram that leaks with a sun visor. This is your problem. What you got to do, second, if you look underneath this headliner, you look right up here, should be able to, well, there went a piece of it. This hose right here is just brittle and cracking apart. It's come off of this drain, and it's pouring into the spout and into the electrical wiring on the top. That's what you got to replace. It is this thin little brittle plastic tubing. Yeah, Dodge could have done a little bit better than that. Okay, but what you have to do to get to this, you have to take this handle off. You gotta take this sun visor off. There is a plug, but it's way back up in here. You got to get it loose from up in here, and then this has a clip on the top right here that comes loose. I don't know if I can zoom in good enough that you can see that piece. I hope you can see that piece. Here's the other end to it. You can see the little nipple right there on it. That's what locks into this little section right here, and you have to kind of lift that up to pull it out. There's two screws in this. There is a torque screw in the holder over here. These are 10 millimeter, I believe it is, screws right here, and you have to pop these safety caps off. One end has a clip, the other end has a cord, so just kind of barely move it over with the tiny screwdriver and pop it up, and it comes right out. Kind of like this right here. You can see this one has it too. This airbag one won't come out, so you kind of have to bend this down. It's a trashy design, but anyway, if you have a leaking sunroof in a Dodge Ram, this is your problem. You can look down in here, and you can see this tube is busted right here also. And you can see how that's just kind of falling apart, and that's why you're getting the flooding in the roof. Got some electrical shorts and drainage in the floor. As long as you don't drive in the rain, it's fine, but if it rains on it, you're in trouble. I think they would have put something a little bit better in there, but anyway, that's what they put in there. That's what you got to fix. I don't know if you can see it any better from this side. I can put the camera in there, maybe you can see. But anyway, anybody has to fix that on a Dodge Ram. This is your leaking thing. Like I said, these are 10 millimeter screws that go in here and here. These are the screws that hold your visor up, and then inside of this one is a torque screw. It is, I believe it was this one. Yeah, and that is a, okay, I don't have a size on it. Okay, anyway, it is a torque screw that size. But if you have a leaking roof, this brittle plastic tubing is your problem. I'm going to see if I can get some rubber tubing rather than going back with this plastic. I know you can get the plastic ones on Amazon. I might look on Amazon too, but I don't want that plastic stuff again. I want a rubber hose in there. Yeah, they've got rubber. Once it gets down to here, this is rubber again, so you know, I don't know what they were thinking with that hard plastic tube right there. You know it's going to get hot. I think this is the only one that's leaking. I'm not sure that's the only one that's in the ceiling or not, but this is the one that we're having the issue with, so this is the one we're going to fix. Anyway, y'all watch, like, and subscribe. Thank you again. Okay, you can see this tube here is the drain tube for the bottom. This one is a rubber. This one is plastic. They came up through here and goes up to your skylight, and it broke off. So instead of replacing it with that stuff, I took the boot off the fitting up top, and I've shoved this 5/16 ID with a 7/16 OD. It fits in there a little snug, so it should seal up rubber to rubber. No gasket material needed. And then this plug can plug back on there, and I will zip tie this to these little brackets right here where the hose is supposed to lay. There's another one up underneath of there to hold it in place and place it back in there. And that's how I will fix the drainage leak from the sunroof. So if anybody needs to look that up, that's the size that I'm looking for. It's 5/16 ID. The OD is your important part. It's a 7/16. It fits inside. This piece comes off of your the sunroof barb up top there, off of this plastic hose. The plastic hose is broken off inside of there. For mine, I just cleaned a piece of broken plastic out and shoved this back in there, and I can reuse this boot. You should be able to do the same. This is a nice piece of rubber. That's a nice piece of rubber. Why they put this hard plastic in here, I can't see. They saved a whole lot of money doing that. But if your roof is leaking, this is why. Look at how that brittle that thing is. This thing's under the roof, under the cover, but you know, it takes a lot of heat up there on the roof, sitting out in the sun. And after you get a couple years on it, you know, it just cracks. Once it cracks, it starts leaking, and it cracks more and more and more. So, you know, if your roof's leaking, this is your problem. This is how I'm fixing it. And again, that was a 7/16 OD size is what fit inside of here. And this is tight. You had to kind of work it in there. You can see it swelling up a little bit on there, but that will prevent it from leaking and make the water drain down through the center. So this will do your fix. I'm just going to put this up top. I'm going to run it and strap it down, and then I'll cut it to length and stick it in, and I'll show you when I get done. Okay, here's what I've got. I've got this new 7/16 OD tube pushed into the old fitting. The old fitting had a piece of the plastic tube in there, so you have to kind of crunch that with a pair of pliers and then reach in there with needle nose and pull out the pieces. The same thing as you did with the boot on top. This little bracket here, you can see I've got it. They had tape on the old one. I don't know where I threw the old one at. There's the old. Oh. Here's what's left of the old one. You can see they have tape wrapped around them. That's what held them on to those pieces there. But I mean, you can see there was nothing. This thing just doesn't. This is trash. Anyway, what I've done here is I've secured it with some small zip ties, and the same thing up on the top one. And then you can see up here that I put the boot back in. So now we have to go ahead and put this headliner back up in the seal right here. We have to put the bracket on to support the headliner in the front. The sun visor on. We have to plug this in, push it in, and then put the sun visor screws in to hold the sun visor up, and that will hold the header back up again. I've got a little bit of water stains from the water coming in there. There's nothing I can do about that. For an older truck, this one still looks decent inside, but I really didn't appreciate the water stains in here, but got no choice. This side pocket I couldn't get off with the airbag. I didn't want to mess with it any further than I did. You can pull this down enough to reach up in there and get to this sun visor, and you can even see some of it from up in here, but it's easier for me to look at it from this end down here, like I was showing you. And that is when the water drains on this and gets into that track, it goes down and drains out through this tube. Not sure if I should look at the other sides or not. This is the one that's leaking, so this is the one I fixed. Supposed to rain Friday, and I got to drive to Memphis, so we'll find out if it fixes the leak or not. But anyway, that's how I secured them. The plastic bracket on the bottom is the one from the factory. The zip ties are what I use instead of it looks like an electrical tape, kind of like a electrical duct tape or something they had on there, and I just went ahead and stuffed it back into the hole. You have to break the old hard plastic out of the inside of the rubber, pull it out, and then this one will shove in. And it's the same thing on the boot up top that we showed you earlier. The boot just sticks onto the nipple up top, and that water drains down through here and drains down to the bottom instead of inside your headliner and inside your truck. So hopefully that helps y'all. Keep watching. Thanks.